بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد وأصحاب سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم عليه. There is a tradition from Hazrat Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu that on the day of judgment the father of mankind, Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, will be dressed in a green thawb, sitting near the empyrean, and observe the fate of his progeny. He will see one of the followers of the Holy Last Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam being taken to hell. Hazrat Adam alayhi salam will call to the Holy Last Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he will say, I will gird up my loins and rush after the angels and stop them. The angels will say that they could not disobey Allah Ta'ala's orders. Then the Holy Last Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam would humble himself before Allah Ta'ala and remind him of his promise with him sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not to disgrace him about his ummah. On this, Allah Ta'ala will order the angels to obey the Holy Last Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and take that man back to the scale. That man's virtues will be weighed, and the Holy Last Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam will produce a white paper with holy light from his sallallahu alaihi wasallam's pocket and place it along with that man's virtues. The scale will turn and he will be taken to paradise. He will thank the Holy Last Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who will inform him that the white paper was his durood sharif that the Holy Last Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam had preserved for that day. Al-Qawl al-Badi', page 123, Mi'raj al-Nabuwa, volume 1, page 303. Ahmad bin Thabit Maghribi rahmatullah alayhi narrated, one of the blessings of Durood Sharif that I have seen is that I saw a barren plain. There was a pulpit in it. I started climbing it, and when I looked below, I realized that the pulpit was airborne, was going upward, and was already fairly far away from the earth. When I reached the last step of the pulpit, I looked below again and found that all the steps had vanished. I had prayed to Allah Ta'ala to keep me on the path of safety by virtue of my recitation of Durood Sharif. Then I saw a thin thread stretched in the dark. It was the bridge Pul Sirat. I felt sorry for myself that I had reached the ultimate test, but had no virtuous record to sustain me except Allah Ta'ala's bounty and my recitation of Durood Sharif. Presently I heard a voice addressing me. O Ahmed, if you cross the bridge Pul Sirat, you will meet the Holy Last Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions radiallahu anhum. I was delighted to hear this, and I recited Durood Sharif and prayed to Allah Ta'ala. All of a sudden a cloud of heavenly light appeared, and it carried me across the Pul Sirat to the presence of the Holy Last Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sitting in the company of Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq, Hazrat Umar Farooq, Hazrat Uthman Ghani, and Hazrat Ali karamallahu wajhahu radiyallahu anhum. I asked the Holy Last Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam to be my surety. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam confirmed that he was my surety and told me to recite Durood Sharif abundantly and avoid blood feuds. Then I addressed Hazrat Ali karamallahu wajhahu as my maternal uncle and asked for his blessings. He got offended and shoved my shoulder and asked how he could be my maternal uncle. Hazrat Ali karamallahu wajhahu informed me that he was my paternal grandfather and that the Holy Last Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam too was my paternal grandfather. This shove made me wake up, and for quite some time my shoulder was sore. I was ashamed of my ignorance and carelessness that I addressed Hazrat Ali karamallahu wajhahu as my maternal uncle. Remembering the instructions I received, I thought over the issue of blood feuds and realized that I had got entangled in a family feud. For 1 full year I had not seen the Holy Last Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I repented, and on the virtue of my recitation of Durood Sharif, prayed to Allah Ta'ala to let me see the Holy Last Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a dream. I dreamt that I was present in the court of Allah Ta'ala, and he was browbeating me for having got involved in the frivolities and feuds of the temporal world. I was protesting, but He subhanahu wa ta'ala was condemning me continuously, so I concluded that perhaps I had been sentenced to hell. But then I thought, how could I be condemned to hell when the Holy Last Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam was my surety? As soon as I had uttered these words, the Holy Last Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam appeared and declared that he sallallahu alaihi wasallam was my intercessor. I heard someone ask Allah Ta'ala whether I had been condemned to hell, whereupon Allah Ta'ala replied, "No, he is immune from hell." Then I woke up, and I hope that Allah Ta'ala will be kind to us and will not dismiss us from favor on the Day of Judgment. Sa'adatul Darrain, page 109. A man named Masta was given to sinful ways. In the due course of time he died. A mystic asked him in a dream how he was. He replied that he had been pardoned by Allah Ta'ala. The reason for his pardon was that he was at the assembly of the expert in the field of authentic hadith tradition of the Holy Last Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When the pious instructor recited Durood Sharif, I too recited the Durood Sharif loudly, and the people gathered there also joined in. Because of this, Allah Ta'ala had pardoned all the participants. Al-Qawl al-Badi', page 117. Sheikh Ahmed bin Thabit Maghribi, rahmatullah alayh, narrated, I was writing a book about Durood Sharif. I dozed off and saw that there was a mosque. I went in, but it was full to capacity. A man pointed to me, and I went to him. On my right, I saw a handsome young man. I was so impressed by his imposing personality, he asked me what would I gain by knowing his name and race. I told him that I considered him a pious man and I wanted to keep company with him. He told me that his name was Roman and he was an angel, not a human being. I repeated my question 3 times, but his answer was the same. Then I asked him, if you are an angel, why have you come among human beings? He replied that all who were present there were angels. I told him that I wanted to live in that company, but he refused, and instead offered to attach me to a couple of jinns. In considering Ruman's offer, I immediately thought that the jinns would protect me and be tough with my enemies. The jinns were one male and 1 female, but they reported on my evil intentions for them. So I declined the offer. Then I asked the angel to introduce me to the other angels. They were Hazrat Jibreel, Hazrat Mikael, Hazrat Israfil, and Hazrat Israel, alayhim salam. I asked him to show me Hazrat Jibreel in the name of Allah and His beloved Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Suddenly there was a voice from the mihrab. Here, I am Jibreel. He was very handsome. I saluted him and was beside myself with glee and sought his blessings. He prayed for me and advised me to be decent and honest. Then Hazrat Mikael alayhi salam introduced himself to me. I saluted him and sought his blessings. He advised me to do justice and fulfill promises. Similarly, I met the other angels. About Hazrat Israfil alayhi salam, I was in doubt because I knew that his head is in the highest heaven and feet under the earth. He read my mind and got up, and lo and behold, his head was in the highest heaven and his feet were under the earth. Then I admitted that he was Hazrat Israfil alayhi salam and requested him to return to his original form. Hazrat Israel alayhi salam was also a very charming, handsome angel. He promised to give me the minimum pain at the time of my death, provided I undertake to recite Durood Sharif for the Holy Last Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam abundantly. He advised me to remember death often. Then I woke up and I believe that due to the blessings of these angels, alayhim salam, Allah Ta'ala will enable me to follow their advice and bless me here and in the hereafter. Sa'adatul Darrain, page 109. Maulana Ahsanul Haq, my brother-in-law, narrated, it was the holy month of Ramadan and I was in Medina. I was observing i'tikaf, seclusion in the masjid for a specific period of time, particularly during the last 10 days of the holy month of Ramadan, for prayer, meditation, and contemplation. And the masjid of the Holy Last Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One day I saw one of the associates facing the holy mausoleum, opening Dala'il al-Khairat. He was reciting Durood Sharif with utmost devotion. I greeted him, but he did not seem to listen. After remaining seated for a few minutes, I returned. Later on, I was told that the Holy Last Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam had himself detained the associate there. A pious man from Sind, who was also a physician, had come to Medina. A minister had been cured by his treatment. The minister offered him some visas. He started preparing a list of his followers who needed visas. This man's name was also included on the list. The next day he requested to have his name removed from that list because the Holy Last Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam had appeared to him in a dream and told him that he did not need any visa because he was a guest of the Holy Last Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and nobody could expel him. Sheikh Ahmed bin Thabit Maghribi rahmatullah alayh narrated, one of the many blessings of Durood Sharif that I have seen is that I found myself in hell. I was reciting Durood Sharif and the hellfire had no effect on me. There I saw a woman whose husband was my friend. When she saw me, she asked me whether or not I knew that my friend and his wife were in hell. I was shocked to learn this, and I entered his abode. I saw a pot of boiling sulfur, which was to be served to him as a drink. Apparently he had been a virtuous man, but he had been dealt this treatment because he had amassed enormous wealth. Then I saw large trenches and valleys of fire. I soared high in the sky and heard the angels alayhim salam praising Allah Ta'ala. Then I heard someone congratulating me because I was one of the blessed. I descended to the place where that woman stood. The door opened and her husband appeared, and he said, "It is because of you and Durood Sharif that we have been forgiven." After some time, I left that place and reached a very beautiful spot. There was a majestic building wherein an extremely beautiful woman was kneading flour. I spotted a hair on the floor and asked her to remove it. She argued that only I could remove it because the hair represented my love for the temporal world, and it was up to me to remove it or to let it remain there. Then I woke up. Sa'adatul Darrain, page 118. Ibn Naban Isfahani narrates, I saw the Holy Last Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam in my dream and told him that he had benefited Imam Shafi'i. Ibn Naban Isfahani affirmed that he had made a recommendation to Allah Ta'ala not to subject Imam Shafi'i to any accountability. Upon being asked why he had done so, the Holy Last Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam attributed it to his reciting Durood Sharif in such words which were not used by anybody else. Upon being inquired, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam prescribed. Sa'adatul Darrain, page 129. Someone saw Imam Shafi'i rahmatullah alayh in a dream and asked him what happened to him after his death. He replied that Allah Ta'ala had pardoned him because of his recitation of 5 kalima along with Durood Sharif. Someone asked, what are those 5 kalima? Imam Shafi'i rahmatullah alayh explained. Sa'adatul Darrain, page 129. Abdullah bin Hakam narrates, I saw Imam Shafi'i rahmatullah alayh in a dream and asked him what happened to him after his death. He replied that Allah Ta'ala was kind to him, pardoned him. Paradise was decorated like a bride for him, and blessings were pouring on him as if he were a bridegroom. This had happened because of the particular Durood Sharif which he had written in his book. Upon being asked to identify the Durood Sharif, Imam Shafi'i replied, the next morning I saw the Durood Sharif in that book which he had told me in my dream. Sa'adatul Darrain, page 118. Shaykh Akbar Muhyiddin Ibn Arabi rahmatullah alayh narrated, the most consistent reciter of Durood Sharif that I have ever seen was a blacksmith in Spain. He acquired fame with his epithet. When I met him, I solicited his prayer, which benefited me greatly. Anyone who came in contact with him started reciting Durood Sharif automatically. Nuri Basirat by Mian Abdul Rashid, quoted in Daily Nawa'i Waqt. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد وأصحاب سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم عليه.